30 seconds. 30 seconds. Go. And we are back with another episode, Real Talk with JT. And today I have my brother from another mother, Vikram Deol, Coach Vikram, a guy which he's done it all, right? This guy, he went from real estate to businesses to health to wellness to coaching. I mean, he wore all the shoes, he tried all the shoes, he figured it out, and we are truly blessed to have him on today and share some of the wisdom with us. So, Wick, good to
What's
see
up,
you.
baby? I
Good to
appreciate
see
you.
you. Good to see you, my man.
Appreciate
And
you.
I can tell you, we met years ago, right? On one of the Tom Ferry events. Back in the days, you used to coach with Tom as well, right?
About 10 years ago.
Damn, time flies. We still
Yeah.
look as good as we used to. I mean, we're not getting no any older, right?
I like to think I'm aging backwards, maturing forward.
Yes, yes, yes. And so what's up? What's up with this? What you got? What's going on over here? Are you
Yeah,
okay?
man. Well, if we're gonna do a health and wellness / business episode, I'm using a device called the Nano V. Let me see if I can lift it up over here. So this is
Nano V.
a
Wow.
so this is a wellness device that I actually live in Medellin, Colombia these days. And so this is a device that I brought with me. So I brought that device, which helps basically, I call it the ambulance and firefighters for your body. So what it does is it finds the cells that are no longer healthy. It extinguishes them, but then you got to clean them out of your body. So it also helps your detox. So it helps with energy. It helps like cleaning your body. It's an anti-aging device. It helps with your energy, your mind, brain fog, right? As we get older, brain fog is a real thing. It helps with sleep. So, and then I got this device on here, which is a bioenergetic field. It's called a Healy. And underneath my table, I have a red light device. I have the compression boots on the corner of the couch. I have a TENS machine. And it's funny because like people are like, damn, bro, how do you still get hurt? Like, how do you still have problems? And they're like, you live so healthy, right? And I just always say, this is how we're supposed to be. And if you like, imagine somebody who takes that much effort, but there's still things that we don't do. Like I don't stretch enough. I don't do enough yoga. Like I bike too hard. I work out too much at the gym and my body suffers. And, like I've also had health things that have gone on where I had heavy metal poisoning. I had massive depression a few years ago, like one of my last years in real estate, right? There's a lot of things that even if you do all the things right, still happens because our bodies are complex. Life is complex. The world is complex. Business is complex. Real estate is complex. Even running a podcast is complex. Social media is complex. And so everything we do is so complicated. And my dad's nurses always say, my dad's a wellness doctor in Central California. My dad's nurses always say to me, bro, they're like, you're so young. You take such good care of yourself. Like you don't need to do this. And I tell them, I say, you guys remember, I'm not the 28-year-old kid you met 12 years ago. I'm 42 now. And they're like, we never remember because you don't age. And I said, well, I don't have kids. So that's one thing. Like I'm not up in the middle of the night changing diapers, but I also try to live a healthy, balanced life. Like I was at home for Thanksgiving in California. That's 22 hours of travel time from Colombia to the West Coast and then back in a 1 week period. And I just saw you at the real event 3 weeks prior.
Yep.
My hands, bro, my feet were swollen. I couldn't, if I closed my hands like this, my fingers hurt. And people go, oh, well, that's normal. I said, no, that's not my normal. That is something you have accepted.
Yeah. And I think, Vikram, what's exceptional about you, it's you are so willingly are transparent about what you are going through life. Because yes, we know each other for a long time. Like,
Yeah.
we don't talk as often, but thanks to the social media, like, we do follow each other.
Right.
And I've been watching, I'm like, oh my god, like, he's sharing this, he's sharing that, he's sharing this. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't know if me personally
Right.
would be sharing, so many of so personal things sometimes, right? But I think that makes you special, because that
Appreciate it, bro.
makes you really connect with the people. Because now I'm looking at your video and be like, oh, Wick is going through depression. I'm like, well, thank you, Wick, because now it makes me realize that, like, I'm not the only one who is going through something, right?
Right.
And by the way, I know you said you have no kids, right? Like official kids, but I think in real estate we have many kids, so we get to change the
Business.
diapers of our agents as well, right?
Business is definitely, if you're a leader in business, you have the people that look up to you, you have their family members that look up to you, right? Especially in real estate, where if you're the breadwinner of the family and they work in your organization, whether they're part of real or whether they're part of your team or
Hmm.
just somebody that you have influence over, those kids know about you and they look up to you because you're helping them live a lifestyle that they might not have been able to do on their own. So there's a lot of stress and responsibility that comes with being a leader of a business or a team,
Hmm.
or even just being like, in a cloud-based brokerage setting. If you choose to do agent attraction, I take it personally if somebody wants to join into our partnership, right? I take that responsibility that I need to provide them some sort of a roadmap for success. It's not my choice if they get in the car and drive the map, but it is something that I feel responsible for, that if I'm going to put this opportunity out there and these people trust in me, because I've talked to a lot of agents that joined a partnership group,
Hmm.
right? Whether it be with our company or a different company. And I always like to share both sides of the equation. There's as much good as there is bad
Yeah,
with every situation.
100%.
You have to know what you're getting yourself into. But are are the people that you are that are taking the ownership and responsibility, are they actually somebody you would want to follow, and are they actually doing what you at some point in life would like to do? And if they're not, then you have to make the decision of where do you want to take your future. Because it's kind of like when you go to a car dealership, right? The first guy that comes out on the car lot, hey, how you doing, man? You ready to buy that car today? You're like, I don't want to talk to you. Some people go to a different dealership hundreds of miles, 50 miles, 20 miles away.
Hmm.
Other people are like, hey, bro, I appreciate you, but I need to interview a few other people because buying a car is a big decision. And I want to make sure that I get the person that I'm aligned with. And that's not an easy conversation,
Hmm.
because the last time I bought a car, the guy told me it had all the Bluetooth features and all this and all that. And then when I actually go to start my car after I've done 6 hours of paperwork and feel like I got totally screwed, the car didn't have two of the features that the guy told me that they had. And I didn't check for them because the car was already started. It was,
Hmm.
whatever, whatever, whatever. And it was like, wow, I just wasted a whole day. I'm not happy with my purchase, right? Like this, I feel like I got screwed. And had I followed my own advice, which is now why I say it, like I just won't I won't just go, just because you say hello to me doesn't mean I have to give you my money.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it should be the same in all business.
Yeah, 100%. I think clarity is important, right? So, look, I mean, this is getting so good. And before we jump in the nitty gritty and what's really going on, like in the trenches and in the mindset of some of the agents, because we got to get under the hood over here with Mick a little bit, right?
Let's
But
do it.
before we get in, like, tell us a little bit about you. Like, before
Oh,
jumping into real estate, like, what did you do? You know?
this is my least favorite part of podcast, is talking about myself. So I'll try to give you like the 2-minute version, because I've done a few things in my life. 17-year-old Vic was selling weed and selling knives. And I
But you
learned,
were selling, though. You were selling from the get go. So that's important.
yeah. And, like, I just, like, what I found was there was a need in the marketplace for a higher quality product when we were in high school, we got really good weed, and we saw there was a need in our neighborhood, the kids that we hung out with, to get a higher quality product without sticks and, stems and seeds. And what we had what was called the real sticky icky shit, right? and that was like my first journey into like entrepreneurship with a partner. And we had, we had all the systems, we had delivery set up, we had cash collection set up, we had a line of credit with our guy on the east side that we used to get our stuff from, right? So like my parents had always taught me to be an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom had a couple restaurants. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. So I always had that entrepreneurial buzz in me. And I used to tell my dad's office staff, if they were trying to give me a shot, if you give me the shot, I'm going to fire you. And they said, you can't fire me. It's not your business. I said, it might not be my business. I used to say all these funny things. It's like, it might not be my business, but the guy who runs the show, I have a really good connection with. And they would, and like, I didn't mean it. I was joking because I didn't want a shot. But because of that, I got really comfortable with certain things that most people aren't comfortable with. So high school, we sold weed. 17, got a letter in the mail to sell Cutco knives. They didn't call it Cutco. They called it Vector Marketing. They said it was $14.25 per appointment. I went into the interview dressed up in my beige suit, big ass tie, thought I was hot stuff. And I remember my manager, Mike Meditz. I don't remember a lot of people in my life from my younger years, but Mike Meditz was my manager. His girlfriend was Corey. We walked in, my older brother and I both. My older brother didn't sell anything, and I sold hundreds of thousands of dollars and then went on to millions of dollars in sales for management and other things. And my older brother didn't do anything, but I remember going into the training and my manager said, if you memorize the referral script, right? Hey, Mrs. Jones, how'd you like the presentation today? Great. I can only show Cutco to people I've been personally recommended to, kind of like how I got your name from Sally. So as I'm sitting up here cleaning, and I would breathe on my knife and polish it as I would say it, as I finish like cleaning up the kitchen and, putting everything away. If you just want to grab your cell phone and write down the names of 50 to 100 people, then the notebook was already lined, right? And I'd flip through pages. I lick my middle finger and I'll lick through pages. And if it was a brand new notebook, guess what? I spent 30 minutes inputting fake information in there. Or I would take another list and I would staple it in there so that I could flip through names and numbers so that it showed proof that other people gave it. Let me find a page here. Oh, there we go. And then I'd write her name on top. So as I'm cleaning up, if I could just have you jot down the names of 50 to 100 of your closest friends, even if you want to give me people you don't really like, I can give you another raffle ticket to the $1,000 drawing. Plus, it's the only way that I can make money to earn. It's the only way I can earn money towards my scholarship as well. And I would give her a pen. I would slide it over and I would shut up and I'd start polishing. And I just kind of look up through the corner of my eye every now and then to make sure she was doing what I wanted her to do. Because my manager said, if you can get referrals, I can teach you how to close them. I can teach you how to sell to them. I can teach you the process. Now, this is 17 years ago. So we're 23 years back, or 24. I don't know my math is bad. 25 years ago. Right. So we were closing people. But what I learned there, because I was dealing with Indians who don't believe knives are an investment, and they don't believe that spending $1,000 on a set of knives back in 1999 was a good investment when they could go to the dollar store and buy 1,000 knives for $1,000. So I had to start building a gap, right? I had to start building a problem. I had to start building an emotional need. I didn't know that I was doing that like at a human psychology level, but I realized that if I didn't build a gap, then there was no need to spend $1,000 on my expensive knives when they could go to the dollar store or the Indian store and buy 100, and that would last them for 3 or 4 years. So I started to build a gap. I started to learn how to use language and frameworks. And then when I got into my next business, my brother and I and my dad, we had some cell phone stores. Well, it's the same thing. We were competing against the iPhone and we had the BlackBerry. We had the BlackBerry, the touchscreen one, which was made in China and it was an absolute PO crap. And so we had to sell the iPhone against the BlackBerry. And one of the big things that we would use was, because the App Store wasn't so big back then, was your data isn't private. It's not protected, right? Your data isn't protected with the iPhone stuff. This is a new company. Do you really want to be with a new company versus a tried and true? And unfortunately, the BlackBerry at that point was on their downhill, and they made a lot of huge errors, which crashed the company. But we couldn't sell cell phones that were iPhone and Verizon. So again, how do we use human psychology to sell the product we have, which was an inferior product, to stay in competition? Otherwise, we would have gone out of business, because we had an AT&T store, because AT&T had the contract with Apple, and they were about a block away from both of our stores.
Mm-hmm.
And every conversation we had when somebody was coming in to buy a luxury phone was, hey, should we do the Apple? Why shouldn't we buy Apple? And we had to build the gap around the service, the network, the data, the fees, all this stuff. True or false, I don't know now anymore. But at that time, like, we had to learn how to build the gap around the product. And then when we got into real estate, right, it was the same thing. I got into real estate flipping houses, and we had $500,000 in hard money loans. I had a $5,000 monthly interest payment. And
just interest.
Just interest. We'd already put like 100,000. We bought 2 houses at one time because we thought we knew what we were doing. Really stupid. Both houses had tremendous layout issues. Both houses had tremendous structural issues. Like, one was a well property with the horse ranch. The well the well was too close to the septic. The septic had fallen and collapsed in. Bro, I never lived in a house with a septic tank. I didn't even know to check. So we're on inspection day, 2 weeks away from closing, and they're like, oh, you need to put a new septic in. But the only way to do it is you have to run it past the horse pasture. It's got to be X amount of yards away from the well. I was like, all I heard was dollar signs. The $10,000 system ended up costing $40,000. We had to tear up the whole fence and the whole system. We had to put that all back together because that's what the people were buying. We had to rewire this. We had to rewire that. Electrical issue. Like, bro, I was like, we don't have any money, and we got to come up with $40,000 right now.
Crazy.
And we had to pay $5,000 a month in hard money interest loans. Otherwise, if we got past 60-day default, of course they're going to take our house. They were fully renovated, remodeled, cherry, beautiful homes. But I had to learn how to sell because my problem was really big. I was married. I had no money. My partner had no money. I had no other income. And if I didn't sell these houses somehow or the other in the next 45 days, I was going to lose $750,000. And I was like, I don't even have that money. Like, we were borrowing money from money that was borrowed from money that was borrowed from people that we could. It was crazy, right? But you find a way. So then when I started selling real estate, because I was like, man, we paid this agent $15,000 on one house. This guy's selling $800,000 houses. He told me he made $18,000. We made collectively with all this stress $14,000 out after $14,000 each. So my $30,000 after it's all said and done, I could just go sell houses.
The agent was making more money than you in the end.
Well, I was the agent on my last 3 houses. I was the agent on, because the first 2 houses our agent sucked. But I thought I would just sell my own listings. I thought I'd just flip my own houses. Then I went through a divorce, remodeled a house. I was actually broke, living in the back of a client's short sale. Like, I was living in his house while he had moved to California. I was doing laundry literally I was washing my clothes with Dove soap in the shower, like I used to do when we were in boarding school in India. So I was like, oh, that's why God sent me to boarding school, so I could learn how to do my own laundry.
In the shower.
In the shower.
With a bar of soap.
With a bar of Dove soap. So I'd walk in, people like, smells like Dove in here. I'm like, I don't know. That's weird, right? Like, I literally smell like 1/4% moisturizing, right? I'll never use Dove now, but 20 years ago, or what, 2011 or 12, I can't remember. I literally had a guy that reached out to me, Mark Branner, something. He was going through a short sale, and he's like, yo, bro, I just got a fat ass job at Apple. I'm quitting. You can live in my house, double in the deal, make $200,000. I don't care. Just sell my furniture to the buyer for like $15,000. I got him 9 or 10. He was super happy. He's like, and you can live here for free because I'm moving out. He's like, but there's no washer and dryer. There's no dishes. There's no pots and pans. But I'm leaving the barbecue. So if you know how to barbecue, you can cook your own steak.
That's it.
Dog, I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, where do I buy pots and pans at that are cheap? She's like, Ross. I'm like, perfect. Where's Ross? She's like, the internet. I was like, got it. I'm like, and what do I do with my laundry? She's like, son, you know how to take care of yourself. I was like, so I'm just going to wash it in this. I didn't know there was fluff and fold back then, bro. I didn't know. I never had a place without a laundry machine. So I just did what I did, and I didn't have any money. Right. So like I had to figure it out. Everybody's like, oh, you did so well. No, dude, I fucking worked my face off.
And
right?
you still working, right? You still here, you still grinding. So I mean, Vikram, why didn't you just roll over and die?
What do you mean?
Because I feel like a lot of people, when they put under the test, like when shit happens, right? They just roll over and they give up. They say, I can't fight anymore. I can't do this anymore. It's too much for me. And they settle. They get into 9 to 5.
Yeah.
They get a small box. They live in a box. They work in a box. They drive the box.
Tony
and
Robbins,
that's it,
baby.
right? Like
Yeah.
why you didn't choose that? Why you chose the hard way, the way of Wick?
You've heard the statement, choose your hard. I was in 6th grade and our parents sent us to a boarding school where 1 year later, my uncle pulled a gun on the school and took us out. So 1 year after I started this boarding school, we were taken out by gunpoint. My uncle didn't say anything. We just got in the truck.
It can happen in America, right? That can
well, not 20 years ago. Nowadays, anything can happen. But 35 years ago, what? Yeah. Like I'm 42. So 30 years ago when I was in 6th grade, we got taken out of school by gunpoint because my uncle's like, we're getting out of here. When I was in 3rd grade, our temple was overtaken by a religious cult that wanted the temple because it had all the money. Right? Like all the doctors, lawyers, farmers, business owners went to this temple, right? And in our temple, the Guru Granth Sahib, which is like a Bible, sits on top and everybody sits beneath it, right? There's nobody above the book of learning. Everybody sits beneath it. Obviously old people, right? But you take off your shoes, you cover your head. Well, the cops came in, they didn't take off their shoes, they didn't cover their head. And I'm like, if we're in a religious place, and I started looking at things, so I started to see the world from a different perspective, a different lens at a young age. And what I learned was people do what people do, but I'm here to make the world a better place. Like God gave me a gift.
Why? Why is that important to you?
Because God gave me the gift. I knew it from a young age. I would talk to my mom. I would talk to my aunts. I would talk to our friends. Everybody said, there's something different about you. I don't know what it was. I thought I just cared a lot and I just wanted to do good things. I've done a lot of really shitty things in my life.
Is it like you trying to make it up now?
No, I just think that we all have our path we go through in life. And, I believe I've paid a lot of karmic justice. I went through a nasty divorce. I spent a couple of nights in jail. Like 27. I have been poor. After my best year in real estate, I came out. I had, 2 years later, I had $700,000 in debt and zero income. And I was like, how am I going to figure this out?
No pressure.
Yeah. And guess what, dude? I still hired coaches. I still had my therapist, right? In 2021, I didn't need a car anymore. So when I moved to Miami, I got rid of my car, right? I sold my Range Rover. I cashed out and I went through all my savings. But I didn't give up on me because, and I almost took a job with one of my buddies. You know him. I'm not going to say his name, but you know him. You've met him through the TF community. Mm-hmm. And he's like, bro, run my sales department. And I'm like, give me equity and I'll be there in a heartbeat, but I'm not going to work for you. I'm going to work with you. And I know you've already built your business. So technically you don't have to give anybody anything, but I want to work with you, not for you. Because if I work for you, it's it changes who I am. But I can work with you and I could help expand and grow your business, possibly based off of what I've done and where we are both at. And he's like, I can't give you equity, bro, but I can give you security. And I'm like, I'll take the risk for millions and settle for broke or I'll make millions and we'll be chilling on the same yacht together. One way or the other, you're still my boy, but you're either paying for me to be on your yacht or we're paying for a bigger yacht to be there together. And over the years, like we've taken trips and he's footed the bill. He's like, hey bro, I got a 3-bedroom villa. Come kick it. I'm like, dude, he's like, you don't have to say anything. He's like, I got you, bro. And I'm like, but why? He's like, you've had people your whole life. It's okay for you to have somebody get you now. And it's hard for me to call him now because I feel indebted to him, but he's never once asked me for anything. And when you realize in life that we all have ups and downs, right? Like I'm going on my 3rd year of my coaching company. We're not making $1 million. We're doing well. We're doing better than most, but we're not making $1 million. And this has been super hard, right? It's been super hard to create the organization, the processes, right? Get the right training to build the right system so that I don't want to just build a training company and rip off the people that are out there. I mean, go type in expired scripts, dude. Every expired script in the world is the exact same from 30 years ago.
The reason why I'm calling, do you still need to sell your place? I just saw the home came off the market on the MLS.
I'm the number 1 agent in your neighborhood. I just want to make sure, right? It's all the tonality is the same.
Yeah.
The language patterns are the same. Do they work? Yeah, of course. If everybody does the same thing, of course it works. But when you call a prospect and your tonality is off and she knows your script verbatim, word for word, because 97 people said the exact same thing 20 minutes prior, we have an industry problem. When
100%.
people are more concerned about objection handling and pitching than they are about actually finding out if they can solve a problem that the prospect has. And dude, in an 8% interest rate environment, 6.5%, 7%, 8% interest rate environment with prices at an all-time high, it is not the best time for everybody to buy.
Yeah.
Some people have to wait. But if you're so concerned saying it's the best time to buy without an asterisk disclaimer, you are a salesperson and you are not an advisor and you're only looking out for your own good. And I don't like that shit. Because we walked away, my first deal when I was living in the short sale house, I was broke. Bro, I'm telling you, I lived out of a garbage bag. I literally had a garbage bag that I took to that house because I didn't want to take her luggage when I was going through a divorce because she had bought that luggage or her parents had given it to her. And I didn't have any luggage that didn't have like a bunch of her stuff already stored in it. So I wasn't going to throw her stuff out on the bed. I snuck into the house one day when she was gone. It was nasty. I grabbed a garbage bag, a hefty. We were rich. We had the hefty garbage bags. Grabbed the hefty garbage bag. I threw in 10 pairs of boxers, 10 dress shirts, 5 pairs of shoes, a couple pairs of pants, and I rolled out in my truck. And I paid off her car. She got a Lexus, wasn't super expensive, like 20 grand. Paid off her Lexus, kept my car payment, paid off her Lexus, gave her the house. I was broke, bro. And we just remodeled this whole house, like a 1950 Rambler, $150,000, added bathrooms, extended it out. I didn't have no money. I didn't have no choice. I had an offer on the table to take 4% on this listing. But the guy said, give it to me for 4% and give me a discount on the home. He's like, you're the listing agent. It's a short sale. You can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And I looked him and his wife in the eyes. We're in person. I looked him in the eyes. I said, I can't do that. I said, I'm not going to give you a penny back. It's unfair to the other people because you're getting a competitive advantage. But what I will do is I will make sure that you have the insider information, just like I'm giving everybody else, so that you can raise your price on your offer, because my client is first and foremost to make sure that the seller is taken care of. And I know that if there's an offer that's $20 or $30 or $40,000 higher, that's going to benefit him to making sure that this short sale actually closes, because I knew what the bottom line was and we weren't at it with our list price.
And I mean, and back in the days, right? This is back in 2012, 2013. Like,
yeah,
we know not all the short sales were closing, right? Like,
Bro.
we know that 50% of the short sales, they would never close because the banks, they didn't know what the hell they were doing anyways.
And neither did I. And neither did the short sale come, like neither did the other agents,
Yep.
right? So none of us knew what we were doing, right? And so I told him, I said, look, I can't do that, but what I can do is I can give you because my client has given me that permission. And I talked to my client. I was like, yo, MB, this is what's going on. He's like, Vic, I don't give a flying shit. Get the highest offer, make the most money, and get me out of this house no matter what it takes. That was he says, I don't care if you tell every agent and you show them all the 16 offers. I don't care what you do. Just get me out of this house. He's like, that's what I hired you for. That's why you're living in my house. That's why you're using my workout equipment. Go get me the highest offer. He's like, because that's what's going to guarantee that this house actually makes it through the short sale process. Because he was an attorney. He knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, cool. I went back to the people. I'm like, hey, I can't do this, but here's what I can do. They're like, we'll let you keep 4%. I'm like, you'll let me keep 4%? I'm like, bro, I don't owe you shit. I don't know who told you what they told you. I don't owe you guys anything. But if you want this house, this is the deal. 870 wins you the deal. My client will sign it right now, and he'll let the other offer know that, you know, they're a great offer. They're at 865, but you're the winner. You take it. He's like, and I'll give you a steal of a deal on the furniture for whatever you guys want. They're like, no, we want it for 840, and we want you to give us 2% to whatever back, 3% back of the 6% commission. And I was like, I can't do that. I ended up doing a deal with this other guy, right? And we since went on to do multiple deals together. Those people that didn't buy the house end up buying in the same neighborhood 3 years later. Instead of it being 870, they paid 1.1 for a lesser quality, smaller home. But it's the integrity that I wasn't attached to the outcome. For me, I was attached to the outcome of the sale of my client that then got him to refer 3 more people to me that I did 2 more transactions for.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's huge, right? Because, you know, being an agent, sometimes there might be some desperate moves, right? If you have no contracts, you have no money to pay the bills, like agents tend to do the stupid thing, right? But you didn't.
Everybody's got to eat.
Yeah, everybody's got to eat one way or the other. Now, let me switch gears over here a little bit, Wick. I know you're working with a lot of agents, and we know the market, it's not what it used to be for the past 2 to 5 years. Like it changed completely.
Yes.
Like, what do you see are some of the challenges the agent has today?
I think Sharon, you know, for those of you guys who know me and know John, you know, Sharon's the president of the brokerage that we're both at. And Sharon said, and I've said this in different words, but he just has a way to package some things special. Mm-hmm. Did your business grow, or did the market grow and your business grew? And I said, well, that's a super easy question to answer. And Sharon says, how? I said, well, when the economy retracts, did you retract less or did you retract more? And when the economy grew, let's say the economy in your neighborhood grew 40%. Did your business grow 40% or 20% or 10%? Right? If you didn't match the market, then your processes and your skills are not there. And if your market dropped 40%, but your transactions, you went from 18 to 6, and the market only dropped 40%, you should have still been at, let's call it 10, 11 transactions, but you're at 6, which means you're dropping more than the market and you're not growing as fast as the market. It's a simple thing. It's not the leads because there's other agents still holding ground. It's not the market because there's other agents. There's people still transacting. Yes, there's less, but there's still people transacting. So if it's not the market and it's not the leads, what could it be?
Tell them, Vic, preach.
It's not look, I don't ever want to be right. I just want this to be the right information that is for you. If the market goes up and your business doesn't match the market, and the market goes down and your business exceeds what it goes down, then it's not a market issue. It's not a leads issue. It's a skills issue. And if you had to be real with yourself and you had to ask yourself this question, how much money have I invested in training my sales skills in the last 5 years? When the market was up, did I put energy into my sales? No. When the market's down, have I put my energy into my sales? You'll never fix a leaking ship by adding more people to it. You got to stop. You got to analyze. Okay, where's my gap at? In the last 2.5 weeks, bro, I've talked to 16 people that I've spoken to 12 to 18 months prior. Some of them I've spoken to more, but some of them don't pick up their phone, right? This, that, and the other. I've talked to more than that, but these 16 individuals are all hanging up their licenses. They're all looking for a 9 to 5. In 2020 and 2021, they were all 6-figure agents. Some were multiple 6 figures.
That's crazy.
And now 16 of them are flat broke. Credit cards are racked. They have no alternative options. And they're like, we're looking for a job. And I'm like, who's going to hire? Like, you guys, let's be real. Who's going to hire a real estate agent who couldn't cut it for a 6-figure salary? I wouldn't. I'd be like, so why'd you leave your last company? Oh, I was in real estate. Okay, so what happened? Well, the market shifted. No, the market didn't shift. You just didn't know how to sell. And so what I teach my clients is we're not in the business of pitching. We're in the business of problem solving. You have to figure out what the problem is emotionally and how it's affecting your prospects, right? If you can't ask questions with the right tonality, the right pacing, the right conversation, if you are unable to get them to open up to you on an emotional level, there is no reason that they should pay for 7% interest rates to move out of their 3.5 or 4% interest rate with you. They should move because that's what makes sense for them and they can afford it, but they shouldn't do it with you. They should do it with an agent who's able to get them to open up and ask better questions so that the prospect and the agent together can help advise to make the best buying decision possible.
Yeah. No, I mean that makes so much sense, and I agree with you. I think the agents, we are so transactional sometimes.
Oh, bro.
Where we completely miss the point, and if you can connect with them, you can really guide them, right? So connecting before guiding. I agree with you, but to me, and I had a conversation with some of the agents in our office today.
Yeah.
Around open houses, right? So like they want to do open houses, but then okay, you got to drop the signs in the morning, but they're like, oh no, but what time we got to wake up? 8 on the weekend. I got to work the whole day. No, that's too much work for me. And to me, it's
being
like,
poor is
okay,
also a lot of work.
You want to make $250,000 a year, but you don't want to speak to 10 people a day. It's like, find me a job, Wick, where you literally speak to 10 people a day and you make $200,000 a year.
Can't tell you. I mean, if you have exceptional skills, right? If you have exceptional skills in some different department, then yeah, you can do that. But the reason why you're struggling in this department is the same reason you're going to struggle in every department you go to, is the hard work isn't showing up and showing houses. The hard work isn't showing up and doing an open house. The hard work is, I don't know what to say in an open house. I don't know how to prepare for I have a whole course on this. I have a whole course. It's like 2.5 hours. It teaches you how to book appointments in open houses. It teaches you, if you're the listing agent, how to double in the listing. It teaches you how to set up your signs in the right area, right? Dude, I hated setting up signs. And we set up 20 to 40 per open house. And we did 2 a day every weekend. And we set up 20, 30, 40 signs. And I did it all myself. I never had the kid in the neighborhood that I hired to do my signage. And we would map out where we put our signs the day before. So I knew exactly how to get there as fast as possible, right? We would map quest how to get from where we were through the neighborhood to this place where we wanted to be based off of the busiest intersections. After the end of the open house, I would call as many people as I could, right? Some of our open houses, we had so many people that you couldn't call in one day. But our ones that weren't super crazy busy, 10, 15, dude, I got my best client from an open house that one person showed up to. And they ended up being over a $12 million deal for us over the course of 5 years. No, 9 million, many millions of dollars, many referrals, many millions of dollars, many very expensive bottles of wine because she was a winey and she was rich and she loved to have me over because we had super great time buying her home. And we'd have great dinners, amazing conversations. One person showed up to the open house. She told me she had an agent. I worked twice as hard to make sure I got her the information she needed because I wanted her to tell the other agent that, oh man, that Vic guy's a really good agent. I never dreamed that she was going to call me later that day and say, hey, you worked so hard to find me answers on a home I told you I wasn't interested in when I already had an agent that could have done this work. You work so hard. Can we interview you? Because our agent we feel is lazy. I'm like, $3 million house. Your guys' budget's $5 million, you said? Let me check my calendar here. Are you okay? Oh, yeah, sorry. I have a little hoarse throat. I did a lot of talking. Do you think maybe you could come over around 4 or 5 today? I knew I had to do my prospecting after my open house. So I said, I can't come over till 5:30. Bro, I was shaking because I had to follow my script.
You wanted to go like right away, right now.
I was like, I could be there in 15 seconds, but I knew that if I didn't follow my playbook, right, my process, then things would break. And the next week I would have an excuse. And the next week, and then maybe I lose this one big deal, right? Which ended up being a huge deal. Maybe I lose this one, but how many more would I lose because I allowed myself to break my system? So I said, I can't do 4:30 or 5, but I could do about 5:30. Would that work for you guys? And she's like, oh, we're just chilling at the house. Come over anytime. Would 6 be better for you? I was like, between 5:30 and 6 is great. She's like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll be just having a glass of wine out on the porch. And I was like, holy crap. So I went over, followed my process. We had a buyer consultation that we had created. We followed the process. I asked her why she was even reaching out to me. The first question, right? What's the reason why your prospect's reaching out? She says, I'm moving into the neighborhood. I think that I'm not in the right neighborhood. You told me to go look over there. My friend told me to go look over there. My sister-in-law told me to go look over there. You, within 35 seconds of meeting us, said, you should look over there. And so we went over there after this open house. We loved what we saw. You told us that our other agent never did. And we've been working with her for 3 months.
Yeah. And I mean, when do you think the hard work become old-fashioned?
What do you mean? What's old-fashioned?
Meaning like I think a lot of the agents, especially now with the social media, they think, the easy stuff works. Meaning like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And I'll become a millionaire.
It's hard. It's hard. Go produce 700 videos. In the last year and a half, I've created over 700 pieces of content. Bro, it's hard. Do you know how many leads we get from our 700 pieces of content? 3 a week, if we're lucky. I know it'll change eventually. You go create 700 pieces of content and tell me it's easy. Oh, you go create 700 pieces of content, have a podcast, and it not produce a tremendous amount of results, and you keep doing it week in and week out because you know that the grass is going to become green if you keep watering it. Most agents can't do 30 days of content. What do I say? What do you say to a buyer? Tour homes, right? Go look on our I have a podcast. You've been on it. We interviewed a guy named Raj Sahu. If you haven't had him on, you should. And he talks about his YouTube strategy.
Raj from Texas.
Yeah, Austin.
Yes, from Eon.
There you go.
Yeah, I know Raj. Yeah, he's a great dude.
Go listen to the podcast. He never shows his face. He's going to do $20 million a year this year off of YouTube. But it took him 3.5 years to get to this point. But along the way, he's made sales, he's made money, and he's been able to pivot his business. Was it easy? No, you still have to have a conversation with people. They're still going to pick up the phone. You still have to talk to them. I had a client that I was working with, and we parted ways because she's like, well, I don't want to talk to people. I said, so you want to produce content. You want them to buy a property from you, but you don't want to have a conversation with them. Yeah. How are they going to learn the process of buying a home? I don't know. That's your job. No, it's not. What's your job? to show them property. So whose job is it to help them? Is it the doctor's job what's the doctor's job? To make sure I get well. And there's a process. There's a nurse, there's a check-in, right? But that all lies in the doctor's hands. It's hard work, bro. Everything you do is hard work. It's all old school. Whether you're producing content, right? Or you're making phone calls, or you're door knocking, or you're sending out mailers, at some point, it's all the same because it gets old after a while. You still have to spend time to create the content ideas. You still have to spend time to produce the content. You still have to spend time to look at the content post-editing. You still have to spend time to post the content. You still have to time to learn how to respond to people, to get them into your DM so that you can get them onto a conversation. It's all old school. It's just, what's the channel? Like, the channel might be a little bit newer, but agents have been creating commercials since God knows when. Agents have been doing billboards since God knows when. Agents have been doing radio commercials since God knows when. The medium has changed, but we still have to learn how to message and market to the people we're talking to. Whether you're doing social media and you're doing a free YouTube channel, or you're paying tens of thousands of dollars 20 years ago to have it on the, to have a commercial on the news, you still got to do the work, bro. And it's all hard. At the end of the day, learning the skill is hard. The biggest challenge that agents have is that once they get good at something, they want to go learn something new instead of just going 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Like, open houses and expireds were my two biggest lead pillars outside of Zillow. Open houses and expireds. We did over $140 million or $120 million. Number might be off. Almost a shitload of business, more than most people ever do, all from expireds. We did the other big chunk of our business from open houses. We got a huge chunk of business from referrals, right? I retired too early from the game, so we didn't really take advantage of the referrals as much as we could have. Had I been a 10-year veteran instead of retiring from production in 2018, I bet you we'd be doing over 100 million in volume every year just from our sphere and referrals, because we took care of our people, right? But it all comes down to is, do you have the right talk tracks? So if you're in an open house, right? Let's get tactical here in the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
You're at an open house, right? The hardest part of an open house for people is there's two things. One is collecting the information up front. The second one is, how do we book an appointment? Well, if you know you hate doing follow-up, why don't you learn how to book an appointment during the open house, right? Most agents hate follow-up. They hate making the calls, which is why we made the calls right after our open house. 4:15, we had our signs picked up. 4:30, we were in our office. 4:30 to 5:30, we made our calls. 5:30, we could close the books. Monday, you show up at noon, totally fine. Right? No big deal, because you put in the work the day before. So take time to be with your family, take time to be with your wife, go out, have late dinner on Friday or Sunday, go get some drinks, come in Monday, midday. You're not missing anything.
And it's not like you're feeling like you're behind the ball and you have to rush through the day and you don't get the important stuff down because now you have to call the leads from the open house and different things, right?
Yeah, because now you're working 7 days a week. But here we built in the time off. But inside of an open house, right? So you bring them in. Don't ask them why they're there. They're there to see the house, people.
How can I help you?
Yeah, how can I help you? I don't know. Give me a flyer and
massage
tell me
my foot. You know, you can start with that.
Yeah, like, come on, guys. So ask them a better question, right? So, hey, what brought you in today? Like, did you find us online or did you find us through the signs in the neighborhood? Oh, okay. We saw you online. Oh, okay, cool. And as you guys are, the seller likes everybody to take off their shoes. I don't want a bunch of muck being tracked through there. I just need to check you in real quick. Kind of like, when you go to the Apple store, they check you in there too. Cool. Get their information. Okay. Your first name again was, okay, JT. And then your phone number. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat the number back to them. Right? Because they can't lie. And you fill in the information. Okay. And then what's your email? Because if they have to talk it out, they're not going to lie, and it's harder for them to say no. Great. So what's your name? Okay, great. And you just start filling it in. People that say they don't get their information from people at open houses because it's pushy, well, that's ludicrous. You should be building your lists. You should own the data.
You hear that a lot. I don't feel like I'm pushing them. Well, they come into the open house for a reason,
Yeah. I
and
feel like I'm
you are there for
protecting my
reason too.
property. I feel like I'm protecting my seller. I
You know
feel
what
like I'm
I
protecting the property.
you know which one I love to say when they say, "Oh, we don't want to sign in." I said, "Please, can you sign in because you don't want me to get fired, right?" Because after the open house, the seller's gonna ask me for the list.
Yeah.
And if nobody signs in for the list, that means like I didn't do my job. Like
Right.
you don't want me to get in trouble, right? Please, like, can you sign in?
And you use a little bit of humor and humbleness, right? And you're playful, and they are like, all right, you're not a jerk.
Yeah.
Because you're not a jerk, they bring their, like, the whole thing about selling is that we have to be able to disarm the prospects, like, natural wall of resistance. So then it's like, all right, so cool. So so you saw the house online. Yeah. So what was it about the house when you were looking at when you're looking at online that made you want to come see this versus some of the other ones on the market? Now they're going to tell you what brought them in. Oh, well, we really love the open kitchen and the way that it opened up into the backyard. Oh, why is that important to you? Like, let me grab a brochure. Why is that important to you? Oh, because our current home, it doesn't have this. This is our, because we have this or we have that. They're going to start telling you everything. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Well, let me do this. I don't want to be in your way. That, let's call it the backyard. So the backyard straight to the back, down the hallway, like it should be. And they're like, oh, right. Like, you probably don't need me to show you how to open the door, do you? No, we're good. Cool. So you go check out the home. I'm going to be just loitering around here. Don't call the cops. I'm allowed to be here. I'm not a, criminal. And they laugh. But if you need anything, let me know. Right. And sometimes I'd preface, like, there's some cool special features in the backyard, but once you guys get a lay of the land, just call me and I'll show you the special features. Now they're like, oh, what are the special features? So it forces interaction back with me.
To come back. Yeah. I like
right.
that.
But it's not in a sleazy way. It's like, go look at the property. If you like what you see and you want to know about the special features, only if you like the property, or if you don't like it, it doesn't really matter. Come back to me. And they're like, oh, okay. Super low on the guarded rate. Some of them came back, and dude, we used to double end our deals because I forced them to come back and ask me a question. Because I would have a secret that they couldn't get off the brochure. Hey, the brochure just has the basic information, size, square footage, lot size, year built, right? Some updates, things like that. But there's a couple special features in the property that if this feels like it could be the right house, come back to me and I can show them to you specifically. And they're like, oh, okay. Give them a brochure. They've already signed in. I put some notes in the system why they came into the open house. So that way now I know what's important to them. And if they didn't want to buy that property, which most people don't buy the open house, I had the line. It was like, hey, so what'd you guys think about the property today? Is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? And you can be real with me. Like, no, it's a thumb down. Yeah, hey, no worries. I was wondering, though, I was curious, has anybody actually sat down and shared with you the 3 most important things about buying a home in today's market? What do you think 98% of them say?
No.
Yeah, because agents don't do buyer consultations. So they go, no. And I'm like, oh, wow, that could be really problematic.
I have to actually, Wick, you saying actually I have to sit down with someone for like an hour on Zoom and explain them the buying process?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Okay. You don't have to. But if you want to be a transactional agent, right, or do you want to be the trusted advisor, right? Because if I'm going to go into a surgery, I want to have a doctor consultation. If I'm going to go into surgery where I'm going to go under anesthesia and they could cut my foot off or something even more important, I want to know that this doctor knows what they're talking about. If I'm going to give somebody hundreds of thousands of dollars to represent me or millions of dollars to represent me, they need to know what they're talking about. And I need to be sure that they do. And the only way we do that, right? I have to sit down with them and I have to make sure I want to work with them. What if I don't want to work with them, right? Like, what if I don't want to work with them?
Something, and I know we're running out of time, and this is so good. I probably gonna have to have you come back again, so we can give more wisdom with it. But I'm hearing something over and over and over again, and that's process, right? Having a process and having certain system in place where you know how something can get done. Like how important that is in anybody's business.
Well, let's just finish this process, right? So what's the process for booking an appointment inside of an open house? Hey, John, has anybody sat down and shared with you the three most important things about buying a home in today's market? It doesn't matter what the market is. No. Oh, wow. And you got to work on your tone, right? We're acting. Oh man, that could be super problematic. And now they're like, why? Well, I know you just met me today. Right now that takes away, I don't know who you are. I know we just met, and I know this is kind of out of the blue, but what we could do is put some time aside on both of our calendars where I could share with you the three most important things that all buyers really should know about when buying a home in today's market. Would you be opposed to that as a next step? And they're going to say 80% of times no. And they might ask you what the three most important things are. It's like, well, market volatility, interest rates, and inventory, right? Or whatever the three challenges your prospects give you. And they're going to be like, oh my God, how did you know that's exactly what I was thinking? It's a process. Your sales system is a process. If you don't have a process, you're probably coming across really douchey or really pitchy, right? Like, and I say that with love, integrity, and respect because I used to be like that because I thought my sales system was super great. And then I realized that it wasn't. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a salesperson, not an advisor.
But what I think, Wick, a lot of agents, they actually think the opposite. They think if you have a process or a script,
right,
that means you are salesy.
Why do they think that is my question to you?
Because maybe there is like a strategy, more what's going to happen, what's right, like coming up than the customer.
I think a lot of agents have been told things by their trainer in the brokerage who probably wasn't as successful as where they want to be, which is why they became the brokerage trainer. And they said scripts don't work or scripts are salesy. And the reason why scripts don't work is because you don't practice them. You don't internalize them, which means you can't personalize them.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to personalize before you internalize, the problem is that you don't know what's working and what doesn't. I can still, if you give me an hour and a half with my old Cutco manual, not the new ones, but the one that I used originally from 1999, you give me an hour and a half with it, I'll be able to walk you through a better presentation than people that don't want to use it. The scripting is for your prospect. It's to take your prospect from super fearful, super scared, uninformed, right? Like there is a ton of fear in making a 6, 7, 8% interest rate move. There was a ton of fear when it was a 3% interest rate. So it's taking them from where they're at right now, which is scared, to where they want to be, which is in a new home, but they don't want to overpay. They don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to look dumb in front of their friends. They don't want to show up to the dinner party and like, oh, you bought a house at 8% interest rates? What kind of idiot are you? And so it's taking them from where they're at to where they want to be in a secure way. And the way you do that is when you get into a car, you put on your seatbelt. That's a script that your mother and father taught you. You brush your teeth at night. You do it this way.
Not in Europe. In Europe and Asia, they don't put a seatbelt on. It's
well,
not part of the script.
I only know where I've been. In South America, they put their seatbelts on in the nicer cars. And in America, the US, they put their seatbelts on, right? If you don't follow a script, right? And the reason why you don't like doing it is because you haven't worked hard enough to internalize it. The minute you internalize it, now you have fun. Now, when somebody says something like, when we call it expireds, like the minute they said, I knew exactly what to say. I'm like, another agent calling. I know where we're, the only thing worse, Sarah, than, can I tell you a quick joke before I let you go about realtors? Sure. What's up? You know what the only thing that's worse than an attorney following an ambulance around? They'll be like, no. I'd be like, it's a real estate agent. The minute a listing comes off the market saying they have 4 buyers and you're wondering, where were you guys at last week? I'm like, yes. Oh my God. 10 people have said that today. I was like, I apologize for my industry. I guess like if you're open to it, I could ask you a couple quick questions about, why you guys took the home off the market. Maybe I can give you some tips so you could use with your previous agent that could help you. If you're not open to it, I would probably just turn off my phone for the next 62 hours. And they're like, is it going to be that bad? I'm like, unfortunately, it could be 72. And they're probably going to start calling you at like 6:45 in the morning. She's like, they've been texting all day. How do you know? I was like, we help a lot of people like you in this situation. I guess like why? And then now they're open to the conversation, even without them saying yes. The fact that they engaged in a two-way conversation. Now we had them. I was like, so why did you guys take your home off the market? I mean, based off the photos online, it looks like a pretty decent house in a pretty decent neighborhood. And they'd be like, oh, well, our agent said X, Y, and Z, or they didn't do this, or this happened. And then they would start going into what happened, their current situation with the property. And I said, okay, well, you know, why were you guys even moving? Like, it sounds like your house is really sweet. Like what, I'd ask them why they bought the house and what they liked about the house. And I'd be like, why are you guys even moving? Like, geez, it sounds like you got a dream home.
And now if I can stop, I love that because most agents, they would press in, right? They would say like, the agents suck and you got to do this, you got to do that. Like, let's meet up, right?
Yep.
But you got to like, you're not going into it. You're stepping away, you're making it about them.
You build trust in a post-COVID antitrust era of sales, right? Because the advent of COVID, everything has changed. Nobody trusts anybody. Nobody trusts the media. Nobody trusts Instagram. Nobody trusts the real estate. Right? All these lawsuits being thrown around. We live in an antitrust, over-promise, under-delivered world. And so when I was able to just, because I didn't really care if they listed with me or not. I wanted the listing, but I didn't care if I got it or not. Because if I didn't get them, I had a list of 300 other people that I could call. When people say I need leads, I'm like, what do you mean you need leads? There's leads everywhere. Just open your ears at a coffee shop. You have 6 people talk about real estate. Interject, say hello. Hey, I heard you talking about real estate. Don't say I'm an agent. How can I help you? Hey, I heard you talking about real estate. What are your thoughts about X, Y, and Z? They'll start, and then like, oh, you know a lot about real estate. What do you do? Oh, I'm an annoying real estate agent. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even butted it. And they're like, no. We want to hear more about what you have to say. Do you think you could share that with my wife or my husband? Oh, I could if you want me to. I guess why would you want me to come over and talk? Well, I've been wanting to move and he doesn't, or she's been wanting to move, and maybe like you can help us put a game plan together. If you go in with the service mindset, you become the trusted advisor. If you go in trying to solve, like, okay, let me help find the problem, right? By asking great questions. Mm-hmm. And then once I found the problem, can I solve the problem? We turn business down. Hey guys, you want 2 million? It's a 1.6 max. How do you know? Well, because there's nothing that supports 2 million, even though you're brand new construction. So if we took a listing at a higher price, let me tell you, we had a game plan of how to get buyers and sellers out of it because we knew we weren't selling that house. And we knew we were using it to just prop ourselves up. Right. So like I knew going into certain properties. Now there was a couple properties I thought would sell and I got smoked on them. But our goal is to find the problem, the emotional problem. How does it affect the prospect? Is there a consequence of them not taking action? Is that bigger than staying where they're actually at? Because for some people, it is better for them to stay where they're at because let's say your house payment, you can afford up to $4,000. And that's stretching. And in order to stretch, you have to take away a lot of the things that your family wants. And moving to the new house is going to be good, but it's not going to be super great. I'd be like, look, you guys, I know you wanted that extra bedroom, but how often do you really use it? Well, we have guests maybe once every other month. Yeah, twice a year, 3. I was like, really, how often? The wife's like, babe, we never need a guest bedroom. And if we do need a guest bedroom, like we could put our kids on the floor. And I was like, okay, so if you guys end up at this $4,200 a month payment to get into the house you actually want, what do you have to sacrifice? And they're like, oh my God, we have to, that's an extra $1,600. We'd have to give up this and this and this and this and this and this and this. I said, what's more important? You guys having the extra money every month, that's $18,000 a year to be with your kids and travel and go on vacation. Tell your kids that you can buy them the soccer ball when you go to the store, put $500 away a month for their college fund. That's $6,000 a year. Or is it more important to have the bigger house when the in-laws come over once every 6 months? What's more important? And they're like, wow, holy shit. And it gives me chills because that's what we would say. And they're like, it's actually more important for us to stay where we're at and save money. And then if I get a promotion or she gets a promotion, then we can come back to you and do something. I was like, sounds like a good plan. So we shouldn't buy a house right now. And bro, we would have these conversations and people would come back 6 months later, 8 months later. They would send referrals. They would send us thank you cards. Hey, nobody actually told us that it doesn't make sense for us lifestyle wise to not buy a home. You did. And we're actually, what we realize is that we're actually okay being 20 minutes out of the city or 20 minutes farther to get the bigger home. Will you have time to help us buy? And I'm like, yeah, we can sit down and talk about it. We would do a second buyer consultation. We would spend another 45 minutes with the people because I'm not going to just show them houses. And instead of spending 30 hours looking at homes, because we got to know them and trust was built that we weren't going to advise them on things that were stupid, they would often write contracts the first weekend. And in a competitive market where you had to sometimes offer 16% over and remove all contingencies, when I told them that, hey guys, this is what we need to do to win, and we had great agent to agent relationships, because that was an important thing in our business, was that the other agents liked us enough to work with us. When we had those great conversations, bro, they did what we needed them to do, or not what we needed them to do. They did what they needed to do to win the home, and they won the home. And they said, oh, you're a great negotiator. I said, I didn't do anything special. Honestly, we weren't that great at negotiating. We were really good at building relationships and building trust within the industry and within our prospects. And that's why we sold so much real estate in such a short period of time.
So good. And I agree with you. I think sometimes when you spend more time ahead, more time before, so you can really go over the expectation and talk about some of the challenges which they might arise, right? Like, if we're going to find a home, this is how we know this is the home we should be submitting an offer on. And this is how we submit the offer. Now, when you at that point, in their mind, they already know, like, okay, well, the home is 7 out of 10, we summon an offer.
Right.
Okay, this is how we summon an offer. So they don't even have a question. They're waiting for you now to tell them what the numbers should be, and so they can just sign, and you can go ahead and do your job. But I think something what you said, I think the best way, the best marketing, it's under promise and over deliver. I think, when you make promises and you all over deliver on those, well, the people, they're going to give you their business forever, right? Because they're like, you know what, Vic, he said he's going to do something, and he actually, not only he's done it, but he's done more, and he's done it better. Like, that's our guy. And I think you're right. And I never really thought about it from that perspective, but yes, we are truly in the market of when it's kind of common, like, yeah, I can't trust that person because probably what he's telling me, it's not true. And for us, just delivering on our promises, like, that's so easy way to really degree of separation, right? Like, most agents don't do what they say they're gonna do. And if you do what you say you're gonna do, I mean, you're gonna be taken care of in the future.
There's two things that come to mind, and I know we're running short on time here, but there's two things that come to mind. One is, what realtor has ever said they're not the number one agent? Right? Like, everybody says, I'm number one. I'm with the number one company. I'm with the number one team. Right? I've done this. We've done that. It's so hard to fact check people, right? Mm-hmm. But like, if I go on Zillow and I look up majority of the agents, they're solo, and I do this all the time because I'm a weird freak like that. I like to know about people. Most agents are like 2, 3, 4, 5 deals a year. But yet you were told by somebody to say that you're part of the number one brokerage, the number one team, the number one this in the area, because you think that that matters to the prospect. That doesn't. That's selling. That's a sales pitch, right? If you're in a one-to-one conversation, it's different when you're on stage like what we're doing right now, because you don't know who I am. So we have to build a little bit of credibility. But when you're in a one-to-one conversation with the prospect, the more you talk about you, the more they put their wall up and the more they disengage. The more you focus on them, the exact opposite happens. And I've had agents tell me, Vic, well, we were told that we need to tell them that we've done $50 million in business and we sold 674 units this year. And I said, go look at your social media posts. When you post your stats, who likes it? Oh, we get so many likes. From who? Well, other agents. Of course, other agents are like, oh, wow, you guys are badass. But look at when you're just yourself and you're open, you're vulnerable, you're showing a home. The other agents don't like it. Your friends like it. That's how you can tell they want authenticity. They want a true connection, right? And then the second thing we did was during our buyer consultation and during our listing presentation, after we got them to commit to, yes, we want to work with you, I'd say, hey, I'm really excited that we get to work together because this is super cool. Is it okay if I share with you a couple of our personal goals? They're a little selfish, but I feel like that would help us with alignment. They go, yeah. I said, just to make sure your goals are correct, you want X, Y, and Z total. Awesome. Here's our goals. If we're able to get you guys what you want, our goal is at the end of the transaction or maybe slightly before it, setting the frame up, right? Telling them what we expect is that you guys will give us a referral of one of your friends who's even ever once mentioned in the last 5 years that they may or may not want to buy or sell a home. They don't have to be ready and looking. Just anybody who mentioned real estate, if you could just make an introduction. Like, but what if they're not ready to buy? I'm like, it's even better. Why? Well, we like to do what we just did with you. We like to help them create a game plan. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. Now they're secure that we're not going to sell them, but we're going to help them. So now they feel good about giving us a referral because they know we have a process of education, not sales. Right? We want to help them find their problem so that we can create their solution. We don't say that, but that's what we're trying to do. What's their problem? What's the solution? And then we create a timeline. The second thing, right? The second thing that we ask for is that at the end of the transaction, if we delivered you 5-star service and we upheld our promises, and you guys, like I said, we don't make a lot because we're not that good, right? I would make a joke depending on their personality. We're not going to overpromise because that's the worst. But if we give you 5-star service, even if at times you feel like we're not, you reach out to me or you reach out to my team member and you let us know, we will do what we can to fix it. And we're not going to be able to fix everything. There's just some things that we don't control because this is a complicated transaction. So now I seeded that it's hard. I said, but if we do our best, will you guys give us a 5-star review on the platform of our choice? And they're like, oh, absolutely. So now we've already seeded that we want a referral and that we want a review. We had 132 Zillow reviews when everybody else had 16. We had Zillow and Google and Facebook, right? We just started working on Google and Facebook when I retired out of the business. But we had 132 Zillow reviews. When you type in my name, it still populates Zillow because so many thousands of people looked it up.
We're still probably getting a lot of leads off of that too.
I don't know, bro. I get more spam. I've been out of the business for 5 years, but think about this, you guys. You seed in your buyer's presentation and consultation what they can expect and what you expect. And then at the end of the transaction, when you ask them for a referral and you ask them for a review, it's not a weird conversation. It's like, oh, of course we're going to do that. By the way, do you have a template on the review? Because it's like, we're not really sure. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's a template. And now they're like, oh my God, this is so easy. Bam, they write the review for us. They've given us a referral and they've written us a review, right? But it's because we pre-framed it and we did the work. And it was only if they felt, right? It was only if they felt we were doing a 5-star job. I said, if you ever feel like we're not, I don't want anything from you except for a phone call telling me how to improve my services. Well, now if I didn't get a review from them or I didn't get a referral from them, I would call them up personally and say, hey, I just wanted to make sure that everything was going well. And they go, why? I said, well, I know you guys are busy moving, but we didn't get a review from you guys. And I feel like maybe we dropped the ball. So, oh my God, Vic, we're just so busy. No, you guys did. And they resell themselves and all the things that we did great for them. Could you just resend me that link? Oh yeah. I'll resend it to you. And I'll even text you afterwards. I don't want to bug you guys. I just want to make sure that you guys got what we promised. Oh, no. And now they've resold themselves. And typically after that call, guess what would come? A review and a referral.
And a refill. I
Bro,
love
we could
it.
talk all day.
No, this is so good. So guys, if you guys like this, don't forget to subscribe. Give us the thumbs up. Hey, if you don't like it, give us the thumbs down too. We okay with it. But let
Gangster.
us know how we can make it better, right? And where they can find you.
Yeah, Instagram is where I live, or Facebook if that's where you're at. Just my name, Coach Vikram Deol, or uh, Facebook is just my first name, Vikram Deol. But I think most of us are on Instagram these days.
Yeah. So sounds good, guys. I hope you got some value out of it. I certainly get some value out of it myself. Wick, great seeing you,
Appreciate
my
you, brother.
brother. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.